Today we're taking a look at the other special prototype My Little Pony in my collection. So the G1 fans out there will already know that this is Music Time from the Schooltime Ponies range. So she's actually got quite a bit in common with Baby Explorer, who we looked at last week, in that, well, basically her body's yellow, but that's what the non-pony people out there will notice. But also this pony comes from one of the European exclusive My Little Pony ranges of 1990. So the difference between Music Time and the Baby Explorer prototype is that this is a later prototype in the design process. So rather than being made of resin, she's actually made of vinyl. You can see she squishes and she's obviously soft. I don't like to remove her head. Kids look away now because this is going to be quite scary. But if you pop her head off, we can actually see that inside she's magenta. So I wonder if this was made from like an up and away sample pony of some kind. You can also see inside there her mane's properly rooted in the Hasbro, official Hasbro style, so this is definitely not a custom. It's kind of hard to see her tail, but she does have a tail washer in there. So she's basically made exactly like a official My Little Pony. There we go, pop her head back on. Hopefully that didn't hurt you too much, Music Time. So obviously her head turns because it was never sealed properly. Now, let's take a look at her alongside the official Music Time as she was released. So this is actually far closer in design to the official toy than Baby Explorer was, as we looked at last week, because she's pretty much identical. The symbol is perfect. The only difference being that this is obviously the other side on the triangle. Sadly she's got some paint rubs, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But she's pretty much as the finished toy looked. Her mane's longer. Some people have noticed that the official toy had this kind of medium length mane, but the prototype's got long hair. Yeah, but overall she's got the freckle detailing. Her eyes are the same colour. Her symbols are pretty much the same colour. The paint on the music notes is slightly darker than on the finished product. But overall, she looks pretty complete. Oh, and I should also note that she has a forelock, which the finished toy didn't have. But overall, she's pretty much like the official toy. So obviously, as I've already said, the base of this pony, you can see she's got some little bubbles in her paintwork under her hooves that shows that she's actually magenta underneath. So what that means is, obviously this is a magenta coloured pony that has been hand painted in yellow. So at first glance you might think that she was a custom My Little Pony, but common sense tells us that nobody would actually have put that much effort into customising a My Little Pony to look like a relatively common design from the range when they could just easily buy the official toy. So this is definitely an official pony. Now I do know a little bit of this pony's backstory. She actually came from another car boot sale quite nearby to where I live. I believe it was the car boot sale in Wickham. So it's actually a car boot sale that I go to quite often, but I didn't find her there. Somebody else found her there, a My Little Pony collector in the UK, who kept her in her collection for some time and then sold her to a collector in the USA. Now, the interesting thing is, she was actually found along with two other prototype ponies who were the prototypes of two of the other Schooltime ponies, Playtime and Painting Time. So, for those who don't know, the Schooltime ponies are a range of 4 ponies, but only 3 prototypes showed up. We don't know what happened to Sports Time. So this collector bought all 3 of them at a car boot sale in, I believe, Wickham, which again is relatively near to Hasbro's headquarters in Hillingdon. I mean, it's not as close as the school where I got Baby Explorer, but still, it's not far enough away that I imagine they came from anywhere else. I think they probably came from Hasbro in Hillingdon, left with a member of staff, and ended up at a car boot sale. So these 3 ponies ended up being sold to a collector who sold them all the way to a collector in the USA. I won't name the lady, but I'm sure you can find it on Google quite easily enough. And she kept them for some time. I don't know how much she paid for them. She bought them in a lot of ponies on eBay when this collector sold her collection. Kept them for some years in a crate. They weren't particularly appreciated. They weren't her favourite ponies at all. And eventually decided to sell them. And I was very lucky because she didn't know what they were worth, and none of us really did, because obviously, being one of a kind, they'd never been up for sale before. So she was downsizing her collection, was asking about them on the My Little Pony forums, and I expressed interest in buying them, as did one other collector, who got first choice, and she sold one prototype to each of us and put the 3rd prototype on eBay. So I ended up with Music Time, the other collector ended up with Painting Time, and Playtime went on eBay. I can't remember what Playtime ended up selling for, but it was definitely into 4 figures, where I ended up getting my lovely Music Time here for $25. So still one of the more expensive ponies in my herd, but definitely one of the most treasured possessions I own, as she is clearly one of a kind, and she's, compared to Baby Explorer, I mean, obviously she has got this little eye rub and some other imperfections. She's got some blue paint on her cheek there, and, you know, as I've already said, some rubs to her cymbals, but overall, considering she was hand-painted almost 30 years ago, this is, you know, she's doing pretty well for her age. Not that we're calling you old Music Time. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I came to own her. I remember receiving her back in, I think it was 2008, so she's been in my collection for almost 11 years now. And yeah, I've always kind of harboured this dream of managing to get her friends, Painting Time and Playtime, back together in my collection, because it's kind of sad they've been separated, but obviously they are also in private collections now with people who, A, probably never want to sell them because they're one of a kind, and B, well, they'd be far, far, far out of my price range, because they wouldn't sell for $25 like my lovely Music Time here did. So, yeah, there's not really much else to say about her. Again, I would imagine, being a later prototype, this pony quite possibly was one of the models in the TV commercials and leaflets of the time, but I've never actually been able to identify her as such. So if anybody has ever seen a prototype who looked like this Music Time in any kind of advertising material of the time, I'd love to hear from you, because we would love to prove the credentials of our prototypes and actually see them being celebrities of the time. So yeah, there's not a lot else to say. Just show her again alongside her finished sister. Music Time is actually one of my very favourite pony colour combinations. Obviously, I can only think of one other pony of this colour, which is Bonbon from the 7 Characters My Little Pony Tales range, who we'll talk about in a later My Little Pony Spotlight. But I just think, overall, I think this is probably one of my favourite ponies in my herd, purely because she is just so lovely. Her hair is still so soft. She's almost like she would have been straight out of the factory. And I think that's pretty amazing for a pony that was hand-painted and made the one-of-a-kind as part of the design process for the Schooltime Ponies. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to Skylark24 for future My Little Pony videos every Sunday. And I will see you all next week with another My Little Pony Spotlight. Bye!